Alrighty, this is We the People News. Okay, one more time at it. Never look straight forward, always look around you, be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Alright? Use that Second Amendment. Arm yourself with knowledge. Okay? That way you can go back to the original one. Protect yourself. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. This is educational purposes only. Okay? Apparently I'm not smart enough to be an attorney. So I got to figure out other ways of doing things. Just saying, I'm not the brightest tree on the block, y'all. Also, whatever I say do is my opinion, so do not just take it as facts. Do your own research. I'm hearsay, he's hearsay, she's hearsay, they hearsay, judges hearsay, everybody's hearsay. Do your own research, okay? We also had to recognize, and I thought about this a while back, but I never brought it up. Jury trial and trial by jury. Okay, trial by jury is common law. Jury trial is Roman civil law, or codes. Okay, even though it's a law, it's not a lawful law in this country. Okay, we just adopted it somehow and got snookered by the bar and kidnapped our rights. Remember, Roman civil law can just regulate every little bitty thing. I mean, all the state has to do is create a code and say, hey, it's illegal for you to step 5 times. And then it becomes law. Well, what if I'm in the middle of the road? Okay? Well, I'll break the law if I keep going. Right? I'm not saying that's what they do, but I'm saying they've done a lot of things that's just as bad. Right? But in the common law jurisdiction, they can't do that because common law says, hey, that's common sense. Just because you can't move, it's a law saying that you only can move 5 feet. If you're in the middle of the road, well, all the jury is going to say, hey, wait a minute. No, we're going to go by the facts and law and do our own interpretation law and say that's no good of a law. That's causing that man or woman harm by being hit by that car because of that stupid law. Okay? I am led to believe and do believe, right? Jury trial is judges are telling what the jury can do. And what's that called, y'all? If you can tell the jury what to do, is that or is that not jury? I said it just thinking it just a second ago. Tampering, right? If that judge can tell the jury what they can and cannot do, that's jury tampering, people. Right? Common law is they are to interpret the facts of the law and they are to judge the law, right? They just made a judgment call that law was stupid and it should be null and void, and we're not going to punish that people for being stuck in the middle of the road because they passed some type of code saying that you're only allowed to step 5 feet, right? But jury trial, right? Well, it's the law, and you're going to have to follow this code, right? So, now the jury's got to come back. Well, we found that, the insurance don't have to pay for the hospital bill because the guy followed the law. See how stupid some of these things are? Let's go.
Okay, good question here. Can I explain the difference between a statute and code? Okay, so first we have to comprehend government in a box. Over here in the first box, box number 1, we're going to call that a monarchy. Now, let's unpack a monarchy. Well, what do we got here? What's the first thing? We got fundamental law. Oh, it's Roman civil law, the code. The code is the law. It's not constitution or anything like that. Just the code is the law. Okay? Box number 2. We have a republic, a Confederate republic. Oh, look, we have common law is our fundamental law. Now, when we get into our form of government, what is a statute? All right. Statutes are for government civil conduct. That's American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Constitutional Law, Section 2, 2019 update. So a legitimate statute, first, you have to go to the Constitution. Second, you got to find where it says that the legislature has subject matter jurisdiction here over this subject and has the authority to make appropriate legislation regarding this subject. Okay? So, for example, like on elections, what was the power delegated to the legislature in dealing with elections? They're only supposed to be able to regulate by statute the districts, where the elections are held, and what times, not how the election is held. See, the common law dictates how elections are supposed to be held. It's already the law. And the real history behind that is everybody's supposed to show up at a specified date and time. Then they're supposed to be nominated. Then we're supposed to cast a ballot. Then the ballots are supposed to be counted directly in front of the people, right there on the spot.
Now, sit and think about that, y'all. How much harder would it be to commit any type of voter fraud if it was counted exactly right in front of you, people? And everybody's around you sitting there wondering, right? But you see these people actually counting them, and they're not being done behind closed doors. Remember what they said? Anything is done behind closed doors is where tyranny begins. I didn't make it up, y'all.
And then the sheriff's supposed to declare the winner and take the winner off with the ballots and go record them. That's per the common law how it's supposed to be done. So, that's the difference between statutes. Now, the code, again, it is the law. This is why we've heard many times in the judicial branch that, well, the Constitution doesn't apply in here. That's because the code is the law. Like Bouvet's Law Dictionary 1856 reads in there, it says that the Roman civil law, the code, is opposed to the law of nature, the laws of nation, and the common law. It is because it is a separate body of law as a fundamental law. So common law is a fundamental law. Roman civil law, the code is a fundamental law. Feudal law, these are all different bodies of law.
And they have their own particular jurisdiction. Right? So when some of y'all may have checked out previous deals, trying to find out what jurisdiction they're under and then ignoring it. Right? Well, that's one of the reasons why we got challenged jurisdiction. First of all, subject matter jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction. But also as well, how am I to defend myself if I don't know if it's Roman civil law, if it's amnesty, or if it's common law, or any of these things, right? This is the reason why the Supreme Court has said over and over and over again that once it has been challenged, it needs to be clear, right? That way we can actually go back and do our paperwork in the correct format, in the right four corners and had the right standing or the right defense, because we actually have a form of understanding what jurisdiction this court is in.
You can only have one as your fundamental law. So when you're dealing with Roman civil law, the code doesn't do law of the land. That's common law of the land. That's common law jurisdiction. Code is Roman civil law jurisdiction. And the whole entire code is the law. Doesn't do constitutions. Doesn't care about constitutions. Different body of law, different, just a totally different system. So, but the main thing is yes, the statutes are for the public. So, for example, to regulate restaurants, there's a statute that gets created. That's a legitimate statute to regulate, right, commerce. And on a local level, state level, right, that's powers retained by the people or the state, is to regulate local commerce, intra-state, not interstate, intra, inside the state. Now, in order to make everybody safe, you gotta have all these health and safety standards. That's supposed to be done by statute, and how that's regulated. Now, those statutes only apply to those businesses that apply for a business license regarding it being a restaurant.
Right. You guys heard me on a few times, right? A creature of the state, right? A business license, right? It's the creature of the state. Okay? It's a privilege.
Okay? So those particular statutes is called personal jurisdiction. What's the person that it applies to? Those that are bound by it. A corporation that has incorporated into the body politic, policy. Now they're bound by that particular policy based on the type of business they have, the business that they're in. Those particular statutes only apply there.
Right? And now at that point in time, when you get that business license, right, now you become a creature of the state. And there is a situs nexus attached to the business because you are operating in privileges.
To those corporations with that business license under that subject. Okay? So, like a grocery store. The statutes regarding regulating restaurants would not apply to a grocery store. That's going to be a different set of statutes for those providing products, right? Different category of corporations. So, Hale versus Henkel is a really good case to read there. There's a clear distinction between a corporation and an individual. And see, that's the other thing is the state's not supposed to be suing the people in the private.
Now, you may want to get back and listen to that, right? Because corporations are not supposed to be suing men and women. They can't. It's a fiction. It's outside of their jurisdiction to come after us. And if we do have some legit claim of some form of business entity treated us wrong, you're fixing to find out.
They're only supposed to be regulating corporations. And the people are the ones that should be filing grievances with the legislature dealing with corporations, because even Hale versus Hinkle refers to this, that there's a reserved right in the legislature to do an investigation to see if they've exceeded the laws of their creation. The statutes are in fact the laws of their creation. That's what regulates them. So the fact is what's that reserved right in the legislature to do an investigation to see if they've exceeded the laws of their creation? Well, in Idaho, that's Article 1, Section 2. That's also part of the political power. But it says, no special privileges, those are business licenses, or immunities shall ever be granted that cannot be altered, revoked, or repealed but by the legislature. Hale versus Hinkle, there's a reserved right in the legislature. See, the legislative branch has all these powers, but the people have no frickin' clue. Including the people, the representatives and senators in the legislative branch have no clue that this is what they're supposed to be doing, that this is the powers that belong to them. And see,
and there we go again, right? We've been sleeping on the job. But when you call the legislatures and throw some type of complaint on the business or whatever, right? Well, that they say, and I'm going to use these key words, right? That's not our jurisdiction. You're going to have to go through the administrative, right? Well, no. You're the creator of the administrative. I don't need to go through the administrative. McDonald's needs to go through the administrative. But the people do not need to. We go directly to the big boss. Why? Because the big boss is still beneath us. We are the super big boss. And it goes back into same thing when I talk to you guys. We need to learn how to petition and our grievance and to impeach judges in your state. You can do it with Congress, with the federal judges, but we're going to start with the state to state. Because the lower state courts are the ones really screwing everything up. You had to fight all these processes, and it's not the federal's job to look at every single itty-bitty case. Because the underling judges in the states are supposed to know the law too. There's no reason why in the world whatsoever, especially on a clear-cut case, that we had to go to the federal government at all. If our judges in the state has clean hands, operating in good faith, and staying in honor.
Again, this is a right that is dictating this. Our rights are the law. Our right is dictating the remedy. Plain and simple. That's how that's supposed to work.
And see, and this is where we have lied the problem with our Second Amendment. Right now, yes, the statutes that the federal government, mainly Congress, is supposed to do, gets to dictate, like the arms store, gun store, whatever you want to call it, right? But that statute cannot tell that corporation to violate our rights. So if I decide to go in there and buy such arms, and they tell me I need to produce paperwork and, apply for these permits and this, that, here and there, well, that's an infringement. That's violating our rights. Okay? They are using the corporation to violate our rights why they get to wash their hands. We suckered the people again. Thank you, attorneys, for helping us out of how to screw over the people. And now we get to regulate the people because we regulated the corporation to be able to violate their rights. I can't make this up, y'all. So understand these particular deals is for the regulation to actually everything to go smooth and easy, and make sure we don't have bad food out there, food poisoning, this, that, here and there. There's within the scope of the statute with the corporations that had to have this X amount of deal, right? But that statute cannot violate our rights. So once they said to that corporation that order to sell that arm, that they must provide a permit and license and IDs and all that, that statute just violated your inalienable rights to be able to protect yourself, and it shall not be infringed upon you. And then they stand up there with clean hands saying, hey, we didn't do it. And then turn around, oh, that's the ATF's fault. That's the ATF's fault. And all this kind of stuff. So the Supreme Court's getting a little better at it, but they're still going by statutes more than the Constitution, because that statute could be, the Supreme Court says, well, when you said to be able to sell the arms to that one of the people, well, right then and there, that statute violated the Constitution on the people. Not on the corporation, but on the people. This will be the People News. Bye, y'all. Oh, this is Monday Night Check Him Out Live, because he shows articles and what he talks about more clean, concise of it when he reads it to you. But once it goes on YouTube and he gets off live, that don't never show up. So I don't know what time it is. Keep an eye on it. Clerk's Law Corner. Monday nights, every Monday night, unless he's sick, but every Monday night, okay? So check him out, but it's going to take you a couple of good times of listening and checking out YouTube and listen to some other things. There's a couple of things in there I don't really agree with, because at the day and time, both parties are been infected by money. By the money disease. These are we the people. Till next time. Bye, y'all.